Since the beginning, the rhythm of time has fixed the world into a forward motion. Hour follows hour, day follows night, and spring follows winter. It's God-breathed momentum. The human experience is a dance set to the rhythm of time. Seeds grow into plants, calves grow into cattle, and babies grow into men. And the world continues to circle the sun. Of all the creatures on earth, only one asks the questions: who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? And so, in his own strength, man seeks the answer to his questions, building a world around him, hoping to craft his identity. Plots and plans, schemes and dreams. He carries an innate drive to be better, to reach further, and to understand more. Every new construction, every election, every invention and every school a reflection of man's quest for answers. But how little now does man know the face of God, his creator, his author. It is in God that we find the answers to our questions, the purpose of our existence and our identity. From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. We are his offspring. With our eyes fixed on him, our feet are sure and our eyes are full of light. Vision allows man to see beyond here, beyond now. Vision casts its eyes ahead to the horizon. Vision directs, vision focuses, and it disciplines. When God gives vision, he reveals his plans and invites us to be a part of them. His plan is for all of creation, across all of time, and we are here for such a time as this.
I first came to Springfield Christian Family last June. I received a call from Pastor Phil, and he asked me if I'd be interested in joining a life group. I didn't know what a life group was, so I said yes, I'd be interested in going, and I thought that would be the end of that. But then he said, well, it's on tomorrow night, and you give me your address and I will come and pick you up. So my thought was that I was just going to hang up the phone and I wasn't going to go. So he came to pick me up, and then I met some wonderful people. I was a little bit confused as to what they were doing. I was expecting them to be preaching all over the place. However, they didn't, and so I listened. I met some wonderful, positive people, and he also introduced me to Joanne Phillips. And he told Joanne that you might like to meet Catherine. She's a woman of integrity. But it turned out that Jo was the manager of the Christians Against Poverty. I learnt what she did. And after all this time, in March, the church sent me to Newcastle, and I'm now a debt coach. So I work alongside Jo, helping other people to become debt-free.
We met in Phil and Julianne's life group.
In their lounge room.
In their lounge room.
Yeah.
I guess what drew me to Jesus was that I met Pastor Phil and his wife Julianne, and they were just incredible, lovely people, and they were just such a great example of what a Christian should be and what a Christian's life should look like. So I was intrigued to find out who they were following.
The first time I came in contact with anyone from SCF was 2008. I was graduating high school. I was not a Christian. A friend of mine from childhood invited me on a Christian camp, and I didn't know it was a Christian camp, and that's where I met Aidan. So Aidan Atkins was the first representative or member of SCF that I had ever met, and then from there, after camp had finished, we hung out, and he introduced me to pretty much everyone in his circle. At first I was a little bit hesitant, really.
How was that?
Why? Well, I mean, I was hesitant, and what's the word? A skeptic of all Christians, really, because like my whole life, the Christians that I did have interactions with and all that kind of stuff, particularly throughout high school, like I just thought they were hypocrites. So I was like, well, that was my label on Christians, you know? But once I got introduced to like Emma and Matt and Tim and all those kinds of people, like I just saw that they were people like any other people, and they were more real to me than any other Christians that I had met and had encounters with.
For me, especially coming from a non-faith background, just knowing that they were real and they were in touch with everyday people with everyday problems, and they certainly weren't above any issue, and they could relate. So I just love that they're real people.
Name's Peter Hungerford. I'm a plumber by trade. John rang me and asked me if I would like to do a job at his place, and just through doing work and life with John, I became friends with John, and knowing of what he did, but never was actively seeking until one day he passed my name on to Danny, who asked me if I'd like to come and have a look at his place. And I was organising to come and see Danny, and I asked him what he was actually doing. He said, well, why don't you come around after church? And I said, yeah, okay. He said, well, better still, why don't you come to church? So I said, why not? Yeah, it was a very refreshing experience. Not what I expected. I'd been to churches before, and somewhat of a skeptic over the years, and but just having a refreshing change and hearing the words of grace, and that, that Jesus is there for us, was it ignited a spark in me that this is something I want to know more of, and it's created a hunger to know more. It fills me and fills my soul, and I don't feel empty anymore.
Phil and Julianne Cutcliffe moved into the new Springfield development in 1995 and were led by God to plant a church in the area. And so they began Springfield Christian Family as a life group with John and Deb Van Bennekom, Joe and Ralph Van Streen, and a handful of young people in February 1996. By May of that same year, the first official church services were held at the childcare centre behind Coles Springfield, and 6 weeks later moved to the community centre in Camira. It was in the early 2000s that SCF moved into Woodcrest College Auditorium, which is now known as the Springfield campus. And with the growth of Springfield accelerating, the church planted its second campus at Springfield Lakes in 2005, with Pastor Phil pioneering once again. Beginning as evening services, Lakes eventually moved to morning services in an undercover shelter at Springfield Lakes State School. To better focus on the growth of Lakes campus, Pastor Phil handed the leadership of Springfield campus over to Pastor John and Deb. And within 3 years of Lakes campus starting, Craig and Vicky Tunney became the pastors. Damon Ormsby, the current pastor of the Lakes campus, was ordained in September 2013. In 2006, USQ opened, and the church saw this as an exciting opportunity to plant another campus. Amy Barnes, along with the core leadership, partnered with Phil in the pioneering of the city campus, which is now called Augusta Campus. Eventually, Amy's husband Mark became a Christian, and they now lead as pastors together. Stephen and Joanne Grosser joined the church in 2010 and were eventually approached to plant and lead a fourth campus of SCF. A core life group of pioneers was formed, and in February 2012, Central Campus opened their doors. At the very beginning of SCF's history, Pastor Phil started a youth group to better connect with the families in Springfield. To follow up on these new connections, he partnered with a local bakery to deliver leftover bread to those in need within the community. The foundations of Springfield Christian Family, Westside Community Care, and Connect Youth are built on these humble beginnings and demonstrate the power of vision, faith, and perseverance.